Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
All right. I'm going to call this regular meeting of the Marine City Commission to order at 7 p.m. on October 15th. We have Pastor Whetstone here tonight to lead us in prayer, so I'd ask everyone to please rise, and right after prayer we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the opportunity to come to you and ask for you to come and move upon us this night and bless us as we make decisions to move forward. Lord, we're so grateful that we're still in a community that honors you and that looks to the word and says, humble yourselves and pray, and I will be over your land and heal your land and guide your people. And Lord, tonight we just ask for that. We ask that you touch each one of these members that are here around this table that have been elected into the office, that you might move upon them and might you guide them and direct them and give them the peace and the direction for this community that it might be all that you want it to be. For Lord, we love you and we thank you for your touch upon our lives. And we thank you that you're still interested in every aspect of all that we do and that you are working in our lives. Lord, we have a good group of people here tonight, and we ask that you touch them and be with them also as their concerns are brought up and as they ask questions. Might you just give them the peace and joy that we need. Lord, we just thank you for the opportunity to spend time with you at the beginning of this meeting, and we ask humbly that you would be with us this night and guide and direct in all that we do, because you are the author and the finisher of our faith. In Jesus' precious, precious, and holy name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Give a roll call, please.
Mayor Skatarczyk.
Here.
Commissioner Avery. Present. Commissioner Hendrick. Here. Commissioner Lovett.
Here.
Commissioner Melly.
Here.
Commissioner Simpson.
Here.
Commissioner Turner's absent this evening. And City Manager Levin. Here.
Make a motion to excuse Commissioner Turner.
Support. Motion support. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? He is excused. We got to communications. We don't have any, so that brings us to public comment. You're welcome to come to the podium and address the board. Please state your name and address and keep your comments to under 5 minutes. Go ahead. We got a lot of eager people ready to talk to us tonight.
Hello, I'm Kathy Burton, my husband Tom Burton. We have the two businesses in town, the Riverbank and Snug Theaters. And we're here tonight. I just wanted to give you an update on the Water Street Inn project that we have proposed and have discussed with you on other occasion. The total project is estimated at roughly $3 million. $2 million will come from us through cash investment and loan. The remaining $1 million is being thought through public funding sources, specifically $400,000 roughly from MDEQ and $600,000 from MEDC. To secure the funds from MEDC, we are under great pressure to get our application in before the year end, as the source for those funds where they would be awarded from is anticipated to go away in 2016. MDEQ has already committed a grant of $250,000 and an additional $167,000 through a loan, which is to be repaid through the incremental tax capture through TIFA. This grant/loan is to handle the demo, the environmental cleanup, and prep the site for construction, which will be administered through the St. Clair Brownfield Authority. Because MDEQ cannot award funds to a private investor, the loan will need to be underwritten by the city. To mitigate the risk to the city, though, we will personally guarantee that note, so that in the event that the project should not come to fruition for any reason, it would be on us to repay that note. The critical piece here is the timeline, which is why we came tonight to give you this info prior to it appearing on an agenda. Perhaps next month's agenda would be great. If a resolution is not adopted before December, we cannot hope to secure the final piece through MEDC, and the project will likely not happen. So we are happy to answer any questions between now and your next meeting when we are hoping to get this on the agenda. We're happy to answer any questions, obviously not in this forum tonight because you've got an agenda tonight. But we are almost always at the theaters and we can be reached personally. We're happy to go through any of the details. I also encourage you to talk to Michael Hilfinger, who is a consultant who's under contract with the city through the TIFA, I believe. He is very knowledgeable of everything that has to do with this and how all of this MDEQ, Brownfield Authority situation works. We just wanted to give you a heads up because, like I said, the timeline is so very critical, and we really want this project to happen. We are committed to it. We think it's something that really would be effective here in Marine City and in St. Clair County, as we think it would attract tourism, specifically from the other side, that Canadian tourist who might come and spend some time and spend some money in our great little town. Thank you. Do you have any questions right now or anything that needs to be clarified? Immediately? Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
You bet.
Hello. My name's Luann Douglas, and I live at 108 North Water Street. My husband Jim and I live at 108 North Water Street. The first thing I just wanted to present to the commission has to do with the proposed parking, the diagonal parking. I ran into one of the guys from DPW, and he mentioned that they were going to be putting some diagonal parking. We live at the end of Broadway, that big stone house. And I was talking to one of our neighbors, and they said that in the proposal, it also puts 2 parking spaces right in front of our house on a diagonal, and that would take up most of our front yard. And so I would hope that maybe the city, if that is true, if that is in the proposal, I would hope that the city would consider not doing that. I brought in some photographs of if you want to just pass those around, of our front yard, and you can see that it is very, very small. The other matters that I'd like to talk to the city about have to do with our property and the property that is adjacent to our property, which is owned by the city. There's park to the south and park to the north. A few years ago, we had a problem with the city's seawall and our seawall. Our property was caving in. So long story short, we got Mr. Faselli, Steve Faselli, who does seawall work, to fix our seawall, and supposedly he was supposed to fix the city's seawall as well. Well, a couple years later, we noticed that it was starting to cave in again, and we had a friend of ours who is a scuba diver go down, and he checked our seawall all the way along, and he said, your seawall looks great, but when I got to where the city's seawall is, there's a gap about this much from here to here, where the front of the seawall should be going deep down into the ground. There's a gap, and so that water continues to wash away. So I've been taking pictures of that, and in any event, I've got photographs for all of these things, which I'll give you after, and a more detailed list of what's going on. Last year, I noticed to the north of our property, there was this big hole in front of the city's seawall, and it kept getting bigger, and I contacted the city and told them there's this 12-foot hole that goes all the way down to the water level where it's washing out. And again, I was talking to one of the guys from DPW, and he said when another company was there fixing the seawall that is closer to the beach, they were also pulling out some deadheads or spiles in front of the seawall, and they accidentally punched a hole in the city's seawall. So that was all washing in. Well, when they went to fix it, all I could see that they were putting in there was dirt. And I don't know that they ever fixed that seawall. Well, I kind of think they didn't, because it's starting to cave in again. And now it's affecting our seawall and our property adjacent on that side. So now we've got problems on both sides. And while I'm up here complaining, The city parking lot that is next door to our house, there is a drain, and it's in one corner, and all of the parking lot angles into that one corner. So, and this has been going on forever, even before we bought the house in 1997. So all the rain that comes down from the street and then into the parking lot, when it rains really hard, it tries to go down that one drain, which is usually not cleared. It's usually clogged and full of stuff. And then the water kind of sloshes over that. And if it keeps raining, then it sloshes down into this entrance we have for our basement. Well, we have contacted the city and talked to different city managers, and it seems like nothing ever gets done. And we've done repair to our foundation just in that one corner of our house. The rest of the basement is perfectly dry. It's just that one corner. And we've asked them to please keep that drain cleared, and one of the city managers told me they couldn't afford to have somebody come and clear that drain. And I thought that was kind of silly. I said, what about these guys that are mowing the lawn? Well, that's not their job. I said, well, it needs to be done. So I have photographs of that as well. And that's it. We love our house. We thought about moving, but we really love Marine City, and we love our house, and we want to stay there, but we really need to get these issues resolved, and we'd appreciate it.
When was the last time you went to the city office with these complaints? This year, last year?
Well, I talked to one of the DPW guys about the north side, that seawall, about how pointed it out to him, said, looks like it's kind of caving in again there. Last year, Mr. Ittrich from DPW on the southeast corner came and put some cement and gravel on our side, but I took pictures because the gap is getting bigger and bigger. It's still washing out there. So I guess last year was probably the last time, but
Typically, the way this works is you should, go to the city offices and talk to the city manager, because that's going to be your first line of defense. I know you've done it over the years, but why don't you try it again this time? We got a brand-new city manager. Give her a shot at it, and she can maybe, get things going for you on some of these issues.
okay, well then I will give all of this to you.
Good idea. And we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll see how it goes.
Oh, she's
Do we
got
have any,
a pile of pictures.
Anyone else? Let's come to the podium. Mr. Mykoff?
How's everybody doing tonight? I'm going to be reading from a prepared statement because at my age you don't remember everything you want to say. It's my understanding that the City Commission is once again requesting the St. Clair County Sheriff Department give a bid on the policing of Marine City with the ultimate goal of disbanding our local police force. We've been down this road on multiple occasions, and I truly believe this endeavor is not only a waste of time and resources, but it is an insult to our local police officers. On Monday, June 29th, in the Voice News, Mayor Ray told the commission that at its June 18th meeting that he contacted the Sheriff's Department and met with Donellan and Commissioner Bill Graytop to talk about getting an estimate for the Sheriff Department services. The sheriff respectively declined, saying he really can't save us any money if he provided us with services. He didn't want to give specific numbers, just that unless we wanted to cut back, he didn't see how we could save any money. He was also not interested in giving us a proposal. The mayor tried to persuade him otherwise, but he respectfully declined. The sheriff sent a letter to the mayor on June 15th with this news. He said, after meeting with you and discussing the possibility of respectfully declining to prepare a proposal for the law enforcement services, a brief review of the current budget for the Marine City Police Department has revealed that our agency could provide police coverage similar to what you have. However, the cost savings would be minimal. The sheriff also stated that we have maintained a policy of not entering into negotiations with municipalities that have a functioning police force, which I believe we have. Just a few points. A sheriff of a county is an elected official. He or she has no boss other than the people that elected them into office. Once elected, a sheriff appoints deputy sheriffs to assist with the duties of the office. With a police chief, the city remains in control of how the department is run and who is in command. The sheriff department is too political for even the sanest person. A local police department is more laid back and doesn't have the drama every day that the sheriff does. The only realistic way the sheriff could reduce the cost of law enforcement in Marine City would be to cut the number of officers available on the street at any one time. In all reality, it costs the sheriff department basically the same amount of money to put a deputy in a cruiser compared to a city police officer in the same car. Police chiefs have a local connection with the community, whereas the sheriff officials are distant and unfamiliar with the issues of Marine City. A sheriff's contract may begin to be more cost efficient, but they also offer less services than a city police department, and the costs are more likely to increase more steeply. At first look, it appears that the city may be consider bringing in the sheriff to bring in services with more personnel, but historically, although the numbers look attractive, the cost of business and police services will ultimately escalate, leaving the city with no options to cut anything from the police budget. For example, I looked into two communities contacting with the sheriff right now. Algonac's numbers were, the first year was $654,000. Second year was $675,000. Third year was $696,000. And Fort Gratiot, we started out with $672,000. The second year was $690,000. The third year $710,000. And that puts you in a position where you pay what the sheriff wants you to pay. There's no way you can say, we're not gonna buy a car this year, or we're not gonna do this or that, and cut funding to the police force that way. It's just gonna rise and rise. Another point, in talking with a local dispatcher, their point of view was that the city PD was nicer. They got to know our regulars that would call or get called about, and they knew the trouble zones. They said dealing with the sheriff department was much more taxing. The decline of our precious community is upsetting. I know my 5 minutes is up. The decline of our precious community is upsetting for whatever reason. I know the city's got a tough job at hand, but chipping away will only lead to an increase in crime. Marine City is still a small town, and I want to know the police officers that are working here. I strongly believe that no one can serve the residents better than our local police. We hired Don Tillery to bring our police department up to an excellent standard, and most people know he did a stellar job. And now it appears the commission may want to throw all this hard work away, possibly to save a few dollars for maybe a year. I propose the commission think long and hard regarding this decision. Once you disband our force, it will be extremely costly to bring it back after the sheriff department's costs get out of control. Now, during this progress, I guarantee the citizens of Marine City that you'll be bombarded with a tremendous amount of misinformation, both from certain sectors of the population and even possibly from members of this board. But I beseech you to go to the source, visit the police station, get to know the dedicated officers and staff that are there to serve and protect you. Go on a ride along, talk to the police. I want to keep our police force. It's just my opinion. Thanks for listening to me.
Anyone else?
Like to address the board at this time? Sir?
I'm Francis Savell from 518 North Main here in Marine City, and I oppose keeping our police department for a couple of reasons. First of all, according to the article in the newspaper, the Algonac Police Department did save $3 million, according to this article right here, that says that they saved $3 million when they first incorporated the Sheriff's Department. And it says now they just have taken out their contract for another 3 years. And it said that here that they intend to save $550,000 over the 3-year life of the contract, said Alexander. The move to the Sheriff's Department allowed officials to continue their policy and not raising taxes in spite of having a good police representation. Now, I've had 2 incidents myself where I've called this police department. I've had people run my fence down in the middle of the night. I called the police department. It took Marine City a half an hour to get there. I had the Border Patrol out there with their lights flashing before the police department even got there. And then when the fire department came, I had my fence all over the road. They parked on the side street, Holland, and never even got out of their truck to clean up the mess. They let cars drive all over it. I can't believe that. You go anywhere and you'll see them cleaning up a mess when there's an accident. They sat in that truck for an hour. And the Marine City Police Department came, pulled in my driveway, never turned their flashes on. If it wasn't for the Border Patrol, these people would have crashed over the debris on the road. And then the Sheriff's Department came, and they turned on their flashes. And then our city police department came. Now that's 2 times that's happened in 4 years. And the same incidents, same way. It's really terrible, the representation. People, if you don't have to use them, maybe you don't realize how long it takes them to get to you. Where the sheriff, just like they come through here all the time going to Algonac. If they had authority to stop people from speeding, they've got their radar on while they're driving, they could stop people as they go through this town if they had the authority from us. And they're always by here. And they would, according to this other article that was in the paper, it said that when they made the contract, they hired all the police officers. None of them were left to be, who wanted to be hired. None of them were left by the wayside. But they had to go through a little more schooling to adapt to the sheriff's policy. And they also took over the Algonac Police Department, and they had to bring it up to date, but that was Algonac's expense. But the point is that, you know, you got to remember that these people, this is what they do all the time, day in and day out, and they've got an enormous amount of people and resources, and they've got a wonderful education for all their police officers. They're adapted to everything that can be done. So I can't really see how we could lose. And why would Algonac renew it? Why would Mont Clemens renew their? They took over Mont Clemens. They stopped all that riffraff, the majority of it, that they had there selling dope, peddling, the kids roaming the streets, causing problems. So they've done a lot better than a local police department. They took over Macomb, Harrison Township. They took over China Township. You know, I mean, come on, let's be realistic. This can't be all that bad if these people keep renewing these contracts with them. And I just think that we've been, you know, not explaining the whole thing in the way it is. Ask some of these other townships. And as far as coming in here and giving you a price, if you go back now, I'm sure they will. We were in the source of a contract, and you were asking a sheriff to come in when you had chief of police to step on somebody's toes and give you a bid so you can go back to the police officers working here, and they don't work that way. They're really very honorable, and they will not come in here if they're going to destroy somebody else's life and throw away your police department. So now, ask them now. Now that you have no chief of police, they'll come in. But he will not step on your feet. I'm just saying, I just think it would only be fair to get an option from them and see whether or not you can save the taxpayers money. You say we're short of money. This is a sure way to do it, and you're not leaving the people out in the open. When you make a call, where do they send you to? They'll send you to the sheriff's department, and the sheriff's department will be here. They probably got police all around here, the sheriff. So I just think it would be a better source. They don't have to come all the way out from Lapeer. They don't have to, they're just right here. And they don't have part-time police. They have full-time police. They're on the road. waiting to come over here and help you. So I just think it'd be a nice source to at least give them an option, because I really don't appreciate what happened to me, not twice in a row, within 4 years. And I would like better representation on my place. And they have the Marine Division. If you need something done there, call them. You know what I'm saying? You're just surrounded. We have a water problem too with people. If you have somebody, call the sheriffs. Tell them you'd like them to represent you. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
So the Algonac Police Department was in a lot worse shape budget-wise than ours. They had 7 full-time officers and a lot of other stuff. There's, the type of savings they saw in Algonac isn't going to be possible here.
Well, I'm not saying we'll get that much, but I am saying there is a savings.
But
I'm
yeah,
saying we're not, I really believe.
the main difference was that police force was really in the hole.
Yeah,
So,
well-
so they really needed to be bailed
Well, we
out.
have poor representation here. We have too many part-timers, we don't have enough full-timers.
I'm just giving you some
I know, I'm just
information.
saying, I know what you're saying, but I hear all the way around that, you know, because you're cutting, you're also cutting our,
Thank you.
maybe some people know some people here, but I don't know.
Right.
But it doesn't help me any, as a
Right.
normal citizen, when I call.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Do we have anybody else who'd like to come to the podium? Sure? All right, seeing none, I'm going to move on to the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion and support. Is there any discussions on the agenda? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda's been approved. Looking at the minutes from the October 1st meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the City Commissioner regular meeting of October 1st, 2015.
We have motion and support. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes have been approved. We have a long consent agenda. We got item 8A, which is departmental activity reports, item 8B, which is the Marine City Fire Authority run report. We have item 8C, which is business license for Vera Grace Emporium. They're moving across the street. We have item 8D, which is a business license with MIDI Transport. Item 8E, which is a special event for Maritime Christmas in Marine City. Item 8F, which is a special event for the Lighted Santa Parade. Item 8G, which is a Metro Act permit application. Item 8H, which is setting the Halloween trick-or-treating day and hours.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion and support. We have discussion on this. Commissioner Simpson?
I've got a question maybe the city manager can answer. That Metro permit application, are they running like new fiber optic in our areas to extend services? So we can maybe get someone other than Comcast around here or something like that? That's the intention of that?
It's the internet.
Okay. So it's not replacing, it's a new service, I guess is the ultimate question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Henry?
Did you,
Yeah, that's, and the trick or treat would be on Saturday, October 31st, the real Halloween.
we're not going to change it?
Not going to change it, and it's going to be from 5 PM to 8 PM. Anything else on that? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, consent agenda has been approved. Moving on to unfinished business, we've got the PA 33 special assessment decision. So,
All right, for my memo, we have received and verified the additional petition signatures, so they have reached that 10% land area, which would put the issue of the PA 33 to a vote of the people. We'd be looking at May election date for that. One of the things I, took a look at this and I analyzed everything from my perspective and with the information that I have. Obviously, I haven't been here that long. I may not have the same knowledge that you guys may have since you've been working on this really since 2013. I do make the recommendation that we rescind the motions for PA 33, which in essence would end the process at this point. there certainly are some other options that we could explore. We could obviously move forward with the PA 33 and put it on the ballot. That's certainly up to you guys to decide. Whatever you do decide moving forward, I certainly will support that.
Any discussion on this topic? Maybe I start off, Commissioner Lovett.
Well, I truly believe that we need to move forward. Our DPW, for example, he hasn't complained, but he has equipment from 1979. He's continually fixing it. He has to break down work that he could be putting into doing other things in the community. He's busy trying to fix equipment, and when he does request equipment, it's a song and a dance to try to get him the money to do it. That's just one example out of many. Our roads, our infrastructure within the town itself, the city is in desperate need of repair. There are places, I swear, I'm walking on the original cobblestones in the middle of the street. There's no money there for that. We've talked over and over about how our taxes have gone down tremendously since 2009. Tremendous amount of savings on everybody's part. We get figures in the, if you have a $100,000 evaluation on your home, you're going to put $150. I don't know how many people's evaluation is $100,000. I know mine isn't. Mine would be maybe even half or less than that. And I've paid much less than that in taxes than I was 9 years ago. So it isn't that we don't have that. I know we're not getting an increase in Social Security this year. That affects me. But I still want to see this city move forward. And the misunderstanding out there is that PA 33 was support the police department. The misunderstanding is, yes, it does. The money would go to the police department, but that money then comes, the money that we aren't spending on the police department, then it belongs within the city. And we can then have some capital improvement campaigns. We can look at fixing streets. We can set money aside, much like the fire department is able to do, to purchase new equipment. That's what capital campaign is. It's putting money aside, looking ahead. So a certain amount of money every year is put ahead so that in 2 years and 3 years and 5 years, you're able to purchase the equipment that you need, instead of continually trying to fix with string and bubble gum the equipment that we have that keeps this city going. I know the DPW. We have three workers at the DPW. 3. Down from 9 or 10 not too long ago. We have, the same with the police department. We have cut and cut and cut. And yes, we can cut some more, but then our city's not moving forward. We're not even staying stagnant. All we can do is go backward. So I propose that, and this is the proposition, that we continue with Public Act 33 and put it on the ballot.
Commissioner Avery.
My vision for Marine City does not include a crumbling infrastructure. It does not include deficit spending, other than normal bond issues for long-term infrastructure things. When I moved into Marine City in 2006, we witnessed the closing of City Hall because it had been neglected by administrations and let fall into disrepair. Perhaps with the thought that some kind of simple building could be built and then lose our historic site. But the fact is, it was worn out because it was let go by lack of maintenance. Evidently, that's where we're going to be headed again. I also support PA 33 for this reason, and feel that we have not looked into at all what the situation would be with this election. The law has been on the books, I believe, since 1953. 51. And we don't know if there has been a challenge to this before, and what is the outcome. And if it hasn't been, then we're going to be setting a precedent for letting our city crumble. We have time. I really think we could let this sit for a little while we investigate options around it and look at the budget to see how painful the cuts will be. I recommend that we do not vote on it right now, but if we do, then I will have to dissent. Thank you.
Mr. Nunn?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. A couple factors about the PA 33, and one thing you have to consider too is, now think logically, if I pay more taxes, now think about it. Is my house value going to go up, or is my house value going to start plummeting even more? You know, let's think of the obvious, you know, and that's one point. My house value has not gone up in value, and Mr. Mayor, you often said that why is Marine City homes not going up in value, and yet all around us the houses are going up in value? Well, one thing is, it's well known that Marine City pays higher taxes. We just got through hitting the people with a water hike, another 5.1.5% increase, plus the surcharge, which I understand about the surcharge because we have to take care of the sewers. But it still is like, they're still getting more money, and last year we went up 5.1.5% increase in the water bill, so it's 2 years in a row. I'm listening to my neighbors, and my neighbors are complaining about certain things, and there is, he hit the ceiling. His water bill was over $300, and he felt like, my goodness. And I says, you know what, I'll make a mention about the PA 33. And the other reason that I want to bring a point across is that you guys wanted the fourth shift, which would cost another $140,000. Am I mistaken about that?
It's 104.
$104,000. Well, is our police department declining, or is it? I mean, I don't see any crime increase.
We haven't put the shift on.
Right, but that was one reason they have the PA 33 is to support another fourth shift. And the other thing is, in regards, our chief has stepped down. All due respect, you know, we were paying for his car, the maintenance, the insurance, and the upkeep of that car, you know, the mileage that was on that car. And you start accumulate the numbers, and then two, we're paying the chief extra money doing internal manager shift as well. Well, that's eliminated now. You don't need to do that with the general funds. I'm listening to the people, and if that was one thing, if my house value was going up, I would say, great, raise the taxes because my house value is going up. But it's declining. And right now, what I paid for my house and what it's worth, I would, if I had to sell my house right now, I would lose $50,000. And I can't balance and say raise my taxes for that reason. Thank you.
Mr. Simpson?
I don't want to belabor much of this because we spoke endlessly about why we individually supported this as individual commissioners, but I just want to be on record as saying that I'm in favor of allowing the PA 33 to go to vote to the people as opposed to rescinding it. My reason being, is the alternative is just too terrible of a thing to think about. I mean, we thought that we've had to make some terrible cuts now. If we don't have this additional funding, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. We're going to have to be making six-figure cuts this year alone, and likely next year. We've been cutting to the bone for years and years and years. We've been cutting staffing. We're reached that plateau where there's not much more to cut, and we're cutting things like lifeguards and all these other things that we've had to cut. No one wants to do that, but it's our reality. As Commissioner Avery said, a balanced budget is a terribly important thing, and we're not even at that point yet. The alternative is just, it's too dire straits for me to even want to think about. People come to the podium and ask, sidewalk repairs and sewer repairs and, additional staffing at these festivals and any number of other things. Well, we certainly can't accommodate that. We're going to have to be cutting more. We can't be adding all these lists of things that people keep coming to add. And it's unfortunate. It would be nice to be able to accommodate all of those needs, but it's just going to be a series of endless cuts, and that's not the kind of city that I wish to live in, or I wish to have my future kids be around. I've been here 11 years. I am in it for the long run, and I really don't want to see what the other side of this might look like if we have to start cutting, and certainly wouldn't want to do that voluntarily. I think there's been a lot of work in this. There's been a lot of discussion during the budget workshops and every time since, and I think it's important to me to see it through to a vote, and then at least citizens would have their final expression at the polls.
All right, last few years we bought equipment for the DPW. We bought a lawnmower, we bought a big dump truck, we bought a tractor, we bought a gator. So we bought a lot of equipment. Been with the barn, they got a lot of equipment over there, and if it's taken care of, it can last a long time. As far as, yes, our infrastructure's bad. That's why the fee was going on. Unfortunately, we started late. We should have been doing that since 2009, but we didn't know about it till now. The SAW grant's going to go through, or they're working on that now. That determines what shape our water and sewer lines are in, and that's due to a DEQ mandate. Every town's going to have to go through it. The fee is going to cover that work eventually, hopefully. Eventually, we'll probably have to take out low-cost loans to get that work done over a 20-year span. But this PA 33 isn't for all that. All I hear is, well, we have the money for police and fire, but we're going to take that money away and use it for what we want to. So technically, you're not really, that's not what the PA 33 is because you're police and fire in dire need of money, like other communities. This budget year is no different than all the other budget years. It's no different than any of the other communities that are all struggling. My taxes have gone up. Everybody I know in my neighborhood, their taxes have gone up. It's not a lot, but it's something, which means things are on the rise. But if you raise the taxes too high, you're going to have a hard time selling houses in this town. And if the water rates are too high, you're going to have a hard time. I'm already hearing that from real estate people. That's why people will eventually they move and look into the townships, because it's a lower rate. We have 3 full-time people in the DPW, but we also have a whole bunch of part-time. It's not like we only have 3 people there. It's the same in the police department. We have 3 full-time, we had 11 part-time. So there's a lot more people there than you think. Sure, they're part-time, but that's what they came up with on the items. You also have the school district coming at us with $48 million. Going to be at the same election. For a lot of things that the people don't believe in that either. They don't think they've done the right cuts. I'd even welcome the state to come in and look at our books, because I think if they looked at some of this stuff, and I still say we should be looking at the TIFAs because there's a lot of money sitting there, but nobody wants to do that. But I say if you want, people should get a right to vote on it. Put it up for a vote, because it'll go on at the same time with the school election, so I'm sure it'll draw a lot of people out.
Yes, let me ask a question. Liz is here. How many people are working at the DPW?
Part-time or full-time?
Well, full-time and part-time.
Part-time, there's 2, which is...
Not 11?
No, I'm talking the police department, there's 11.
I'm sorry, you said DPW.
No, well, I said DPW we had 3, and I didn't know how many part-time, but in the police department, I said we have 3 with 11 part-time.
Did you get your answer? Commissioner Simpson?
I just want to, since it's been brought up a couple times about water rates and stuff, just for anybody who hasn't been following along in our budget process or many other years, I feel that's clouding the issue a little bit. The big issue with our water rates and our water plant is the capacity at which we use our system. Our system capacity, we use at about 35%. In order for that system to pay for itself, we need to be upwards of about 60%. That's one of the reasons why these water rates are going. It doesn't really have much to do with this PA 33, and even if we keep PA 33 or disregard that, those water rates are probably going to go up. We've lost a lot of industry, the foam plant being one. So when people are using less water, we still have those bills to pay, and we've done quite a bit to mitigate that with Tetra Tech and some other things. But that's the reason why those water rates are adjusting, and of course, as others have mentioned about the infrastructure, but just trying not to get that clouded with the PA 33. There really are two conceptually very separate issues, and they're both very important for people to understand. That's why I wanted to mention that since it's been brought up.
Yeah, and if you pay attention to the news, water's a problem everywhere. It's not just us. I mean, look what Flint's going through, for God's sakes. That's going to all cost us all money, unfortunately, because of the fix they got into. I'm like you, Commissioner Simpson, I'm not going to re-argue this position. We already made our decision on it, and to sit here and keep rehashing the reasons for and against, this isn't really the time to do that. I believe that, I never saw the language on the petitions, but I believe that the language on the petition was just to bring this to a vote, correct? And I think that is the proper thing to do, because if we were just to rescind it, then, because I know a lot of people that are in favor of having this city have the proper funding, what 5 of us consider to be the proper funding. Yeah, the money, the PA 33 was put on the books to help communities pay for police and fire. The reason for that is, constitutionally, we have to provide police and fire. So with police and fire being so much of our budget, we have to provide those services, so the only place we can cut is in other areas. So that's what happens. We had somebody come to the podium and say, oh, well, I don't want to pay for police. Well, I think it's kind of silly, for one, not to want to pay for police when you live in a city. About the only place you're going to get away with that is way out in the country somewhere. And even then, you're paying for police a little bit. But, you know, by voting down the PA 33, you're ensuring, if that's your position, that more of our budget's going to go to the police. As a percentage, more of our budget will go to the police. So if you're against that in the first place, all you're doing by turning this down is just saying, well, more of the money we have is going to go to the police, percentage-wise. The values of the houses are going up slightly in places. I know mine's gone up, so I guess it just kind of depends on condition of your house and where you live and things like that, but it is going up. But the sad part is, that doesn't really help us all that much. Last year, we only got a 1% increase. This year, we're looking at zeros, correct? I think the inflationary numbers are going to put out, and there will be a 0% increase this year. So even if your house went up 50%, the city will see 0 increase in value from that. That's the other reason why 5 of us thought the PA 33 was important, because of Proposition A, this city just doesn't have the ability to get that money back that we lost when the housing bubble burst. And the 4x4 shift, I actually voted against that, but we had a citizen come to the podium today talk about slow response. Well, that's because we only have 1 shift. We have 1 car. If he's anywhere else, he can't come to your house. So the 4 to 4 shift gives a little extra coverage during that peak times where there's a lot of activity. We've always had those 3 shifts. We dropped that 1 shift last year as a budget saving item, and yeah, it creates slow response. So that's really all I got to say about that. I say the same thing, let it go to a vote. That's what the petitioners work for. So let it go to the vote, and maybe when people actually see the impact of this tax, because this tax will get collected on the winter tax bill, and when you actually see the kind of money we're talking about, maybe you'll have a change of heart and you'll decide you'll want to support your city a little better. Because it's not going to be a significant amount of money. Commissioner Levitt?
I make a motion that we move forward with putting the PA 33 to vote.
Well, actually, I don't think we need to do anything.
No? Oh.
Commissioner Hendrick?
I have a question now. So the intent of this board now is to put the P33 money tax on the winter taxes, collect the money and spend it. Is that the intent till the election?
That's what we've already voted on, so that's already in place.
That's part of
We
our
would have to
budget.
rescind it in order for that not to happen. We voted that in place with the budget this year.
Well, you don't have to necessarily spend it until the election. I mean, your motion was to not use that money until it was resolved, and it won't be resolved until May.
Well, it
So
has
now
been-
you're going to lie to the public and let them
Wait,
vote
wait,
on
wait,
it.
The difference
let's
is-
cut that rhetoric right out. Nobody's lying to the public.
Well, you are.
No, the
difference
reason it is going to work that way is because the petitioners took 5 months to get their petitions in. If they would have got their petitions in early enough
Doesn't
to
matter.
make the ballot, then they could have stopped that tax draw. But that tax
You're
draw is
still-
part of the
you're
ballot. The
still
tax
throwing it in
has
your
been
face.
drawn in, and when you use words like lying, which is a lie in itself, you were just
You are.
doing, we are not
You
lying.
just sat there and said, well, we're not going to do this until the vote. Well, you are going to collect it before the vote, and you are going to spend it before the vote. You
We're
just
going
said
to
it.
collect it. I didn't say anything about spending it. We haven't made that decision.
Well, if you collect it, you'll spend it.
That's just the way it works.
Oh, now you're admitting it.
No, I didn't say that's the way it works to spend it. I said it works that way because it took 5 months to
Well, I
get this
want to
ballot.
know, are you going to spend it or aren't you, before the election?
What, me personally?
I want to know, is the city going to,
We don't have to
Spend it.
give you that answer. We can figure that out as we
well,
go.
you do have to give it an
No,
answer.
I don't have to give you the answer. This discussion is about what to do with the PA 33.
That's part of
The
it.
the budget's already been approved months ago.
So they're going to collect the money until May, and they're going to spend your money until May, and then you'll have the chance to vote to stop it.
Exactly right. And that's because of, that's because,
You really should listen to her. You should just put it to a vote and let the people handle it. Quit arguing amongst yourselves. You look like fucking clowns.
sir, watch your language.
I understand. I do. You say we're non-growthers. Put $10,000 into my house in the last month. I'm not a non-growther. I moved this town because I loved it. I like it.
Sir, nobody says it's not going to a
Yeah,
vote.
I see. You act like clowns. You act like clowns.
I
Forget you. You act
disagree.
like clowns.
You need to leave, sir. Commissioner Simpson.
I think there is a big difference between collecting it and how we end up spending it. Two very separate issues. It's going to be collected because it's already on the tax rolls. It's already been planned that way, and as the mayor said, it took so long for the petitions to come in that the response time, we're not able to put that on November election. That's not even an option because the petitions came in well after that election deadline, which in Michigan election law only provides for a May election to then deal with that. So it's important to know that there's a difference between when it's going to be collected. It's already going to be collected starting in December. That's what's been on the books since we voted this in, and that's how it's moved forward. How we choose to spend the budget this year or making budget amendments, two very separate issues, and we have been conservative. Anyone who's been following anything will know that even though we were for the 4 a.m. to 4 a.m. adding the additional police car, we did not go ahead with that. That's over $100,000 that we have not spent because we knew this could be a potential issue. There's been other expenditures like the live scan police fingerprint scan machine. There was a grant made for that, so we saved an additional, I believe it was $13,000 or $14,000 out of that. So there are expenditures that we have been holding off on and not making before this very reason. So I think it's just an important distinction for people to make, that there is a difference between collecting, because we're going to do that, because we already voted to do that. That's not a decision we're making today. That's already taking place because the petitions did not make a cutoff, and we can't put it to an election until May. That's not an option for us. How we choose to spend that can be altered. We can have additional budget meetings and decipher that.
The whole point that Commissioner Hennis is trying to make is ridiculous anyway, because that money will be spent, because it will be collected, and it will not be given back. Our city attorney said that money, if if the PA 33 is turned down at general election, that money does not have to be reimbursed, correct? That was part of your opinion.
That's my view.
So what I said was right. You're going to collect the money and spend it up to the May election.
That money will get spent at some point.
Well, you've already spent
Because we don't
some of
have
it.
to give it back, Commissioner Hendrick. You're just trying to cause a controversy
I'm not
where
trying
one
to
does
cause
not.
a
Yes, you
controversy.
are.
I'm trying to make sure that the people understand what you're going to do.
We're going to collect taxes, and once we collect those taxes, that money is ours. That's what we're going to do. Commissioner Hendrick might want to make us look like
I'm
we're up
not
to
trying to
something,
make
but
you
that's
look
how
like
it works.
anything.
That
You're
is
doing
how
it
it
yourself.
works.
That's the point.
What's hard to understand about that?
I'm not. I'm trying to make sure they understand what you're going to do to them.
We're going to collect taxes like we
And
do
you're going
every
to
year.
spend it.
And the money will get spent. Commissioner Melly.
I do want to make a point. Have you looked at the names that was on the petition?
And what does that have to do with it?
Well, there are some very well-to-do people that
Well, then
signed
they
that
will get to
petition.
vote when it comes to a vote.
But here's the thing, you want to attack some of the very well-to-do people, and here's another factor.
I don't want to attack anybody,
Well,
Commissioner Melly.
excuse me, wait 1 second. You know, you say about the petition was not signed in the quantity time, but they didn't even know, no offense, but after we got the signatures, we thought we needed so much signatures, then we kind of find out that it has to deal with land mass. So quickly, after we found out it had to do with land mass, we took care of the matter right away.
Well, so you're
What I'm saying is-
actively working with the petitioners, so it is not the city's job to tell you how to do your job. It was up to the petitioners to figure that out. And if you really want to ask me, I think the petitions are invalid. I think everything about the process was wrong. I don't believe that you could just turn them in on a napkin, as our city attorney has apparently told you and the other people working on this. I believe there's laws that need to be followed, and if we really wanted to push this issue, what we would do is say that those petitions are invalid. In fact, I would be really interested in getting a second opinion on that from an attorney that specializes in election law, because frankly, the notion that these don't have to be certified, that they had any length of time to collect them that they wanted, that the language didn't have to be approved by the city, that there's no time limits, and now these petitions can be held over to election in a following year, I think, not being a lawyer, I think is ridiculous. Commissioner Simpson?
I just wanted to make a correction to something that Commissioner Melly said. It's the date of submittal for the original petitions was at least 3 days late to make the November election, regardless of when the second signatures came in. So right there, it wasn't about the second wave of the petitions. The first one missed the date by more than 3 days to make the November election. So just so we're clear there about actual dates. But the actual petition is requesting that we put this on a ballot, and I think that's exactly what we're going to do. The petition isn't asking to rescind it, it's asking for it to go on the ballot. And I think that's also something that needs to be made clear. We're actually, you know, my vote is to do what the petition requests, put it on a ballot. I think that's an important thing to differentiate here.
If you don't mind stepping on people's toes, I just wish you would.
I don't
look
see
at
that
the
stepping on
name-
people's toes. I'm seeing
Excuse
it's letting them have exactly what they're looking for. Put it to a vote. I don't see how it's stepping on anybody's toes or insulting anybody. That's exactly what they're looking for, is what we're talking
By
about.
you collecting the money, you're stepping on their toes. And they will speak loudly. And all I know, you should look at the names that the people have signed the petition, and then think about your different providers for your fundraising and different things like that. You want to bet that's going to affect them? You betcha.
I
You
also
can
don't
go
take lightly
ahead,
to-
you can
to
go ahead
threats
and by
be
the
that
law.
manner. I said, it's not
By
about a
the
town
law.
of one person or a group of five.
By the law, you can do it.
Point of order. Let's get away from this debate and go back to the way it's supposed to work, where you make a statement to the chair and you make a statement to the
Okay.
chair and stop the open debate. So we understand, I think we've talked about this in length. The petitions weren't for the commission to rescind our original decision. The petition was to put this to the vote. So I agree that we are not stepping on toes. We're doing what we were being asked to do. Commissioner Simpson?
I just want to add that I would support a notion of getting someone who's maybe more of a tax-specific lawyer. Without due respect to Mr. Downey, this is a bit of uncharted territory for us altogether. By my research and by what we have spoken in this room, it seems like PA 33 has never been challenged, so that's a bit of uncharted territory for anybody. I don't think it ever hurts, and it's certainly not meant to insult anyone we currently have on contract, but I think it would be diligent for us to do a little bit of extra research and perhaps get another opinion on what the rest of this process looks like for us, just because I think that's, to go apart it the right way is important.
Commissioner Hanna?
Right. The people have the petitions because they hoped that you would not do anything and allow them to vote and let them decide whether you're going to collect that money or not. But now, basically, you're saying, well, okay, so you were late, so they were. So what? They're still asking you to put a vote. You don't want to put a vote. I know you can't do it till May. That's the rule. But by collecting it and then spending it and then letting them vote, all you're going to do is incite more issues. I think it's a slap in the face to our attorney saying that he doesn't know what he's doing. He and the county clerk all researched this. I know people at the state looked at this also. They all said the way this particular law is
What
written,
person at the state looked at this?
that's not my place to
There
say.
is no person at the state
There
looked
is
at
a
it. They
person at
don't
the
get
state
involved
that
in
they checked
local,
with.
I've called with the state, they
And
do
they
not get
said-
involved with local issues.
Isn't it my, don't I have
No,
the floor, Ray?
you know what, I am the
Don't I
chair,
have the
and if
floor?
I feel somebody's
Oh,
giving
so
misinformation.
you can violate the rules, but I
No,
can't.
I am in charge of the meeting, and
I
I'm in
see.
charge of keeping clarity, and I'm in charge of keeping people like you from spreading
You're
rhetoric.
breaking
and
into what I'm saying.
I can do that.
You don't know who
Go
talked
read
to
the
who.
policies and rules of the commission. I can interrupt you anytime I want.
You're out of order.
No, I'm not. You're
Yes,
out of
you
order.
are.
You are out of order,
I'm
Commissioner.
talking, you gave me the floor, you.
And I am the
What don't
chair.
you get about being in politics, Mr. Mayor?
What don't you
need to
get
go
about
back
being
and find out.
respectful and
I
not
am being
lying?
respectful. You're the one breaking into what I'm talking about.
Read the
Now, I'm
policy
going to
rules.
finish my statement. all right?
What person at the state?
I don't have
had
to tell you that
Because you made it
information.
up.
No, I'm not making it up. But people were contacted, and everybody said that the way this is written, there aren't a whole lot of rules. We got the same opinion from our attorney. We got the same opinion from the county. What more do you want?
The attorney could have made any rules he wanted because it's a local issue.
So you're saying the attorney's making the rules up?
He is.
Wow.
The attorney did make the rules up. Where did they come from? Where did the rules come
Did you look at the state law? I read it. There aren't any rules in it.
from? Did you talk to the people at the state?
I didn't, but I know somebody that did.
I did. And you know
They
what
might not have
happens
talked to
on,
the
you know
same
what
people that
happens?
you did.
Well, I talked to the state election people, and in a local, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Downey, but the state election rules do not apply to a local election issue, correct?
It depends on what the statute says. And in this case, there was no guidance given by Public Act
When I
33.
called the Treasury and I talked to the election advisors, they asked me if this was a local assessment. I said it was. And they said that state law does not apply to local assessments. They told me to look to your charter for the rules on how to handle this. That's what I was told when I actually made the phone call to the state. Our charter says that if it's a referendum, that you have 60 days from the point of legislation to collect petitions. 60 days. That's in our charter. Because I did do my homework, and I did talk to people. And basically, yes, our city attorney did generate and make the rules for these petitions, because it's a local issue. And so he had to form an opinion, and by saying and setting the parameters for this, he did invent the rules. They did not come from the state. Would you disagree with that?
I would say that the rules weren't specified by the state law under which the commission
So
acted.
where were the rules supposed to come from?
If they're not generated by Public Act 33, which in this case they weren't, then there are no rules that apply.
There's no rules. So our own election rules do not apply.
Because this is derived from Public Act 33 from a state law. That was my opinion, correct?
Right. Well, so this is where I think we need some clarification. And I'm not an attorney, but I've talked to other city managers. I've talked to other people, I've talked to other attorneys, I've talked to people at the state, and I'm finding very few people that agree with that opinion. I haven't found anybody that agrees with that opinion. So, not that it changes anything, I would just be, to move forward, I'd really like to know what the actual rules are. This could come up again down the road. You know, there could be another commissioner, another board that wants to, you know, do the PA 33 again. And it would be nice to have some clarity on how it's actually supposed to proceed. Commissioner Melly?
One more thing, Mr. Mayor. We just elected our new city manager, and I think she's very wise, and she's asking for us to rescind. And she's got a feeling towards the city and seeing the different response, and she wants to work with the people. And I don't take her judgment wrong. We hired her. She wants to support us, and she gave us advising us what we should do, and I want to respect her wishes. And I rather work with the public and in that regards. And that, you know, I mean, you can do what you want, but she did say she recommended to rescind it.
Then I respect Ms. Levine's opinion. But as she said, she hasn't been here all that long. She doesn't know all that went into the PA 33. So the ultimate decision is up to us. We weigh her opinion, we weigh the opinions of the other people on the commission, and we make a decision. So far, nobody's made any decision or motion, so I think somebody should either make a motion or we should wrap this discussion up. Commissioner Lovett?
I'd like to make a motion that we, well, I know kind of a double one, but first of all, that we seek the service of, again, not against Mr. Downey, but someone who specializes in election law, and that we, you said it, yeah, I guess that's the motion. I tried to make the other one, you said that didn't apply, so.
Well,
About doing the
to
petition,
let
it's already-
let this go to a vote, we don't have to do anything.
Right.
This is where it's going to go.
Right, but anyway.
I would support Commissioner Lovett's motion of seeking tax advice, tax-specific advice for election-specific counsel.
So a motion of support to seek second opinion on how the petitions should have been handled? Is that what we're going to be looking at?
No, my concern was not necessarily about the individual petitions. I'm all about being as inclusive as possible and letting this go to the election. That is not my concern with that. My concern is making sure from here out that we are very clear on what happens. What happens, you know, we're clearly collecting the money. What happens, we should know we have a contingency either way. If it is rescinded via vote of the people in May, we should know exactly what has to happen to that money. And if it's not, we need to know for sure that we're moving forward in the right direction. I think either way, this is important information to have. I am all about being inclusive for the folks that sign those petitions and, you know, having to go to the election, absolutely. But it's moving forward that we're doing the right steps. And certainly they're going to opine on.
That is an excellent point, because I have had the opinion expressed to me that if we did collect the tax and the vote, it was voted down, that we wouldn't necessarily be allowed to keep the money. So I've also heard that. So I think it is important to get this clarified, and I don't think we need to make any decisions right now because we have lots of time. When is...
No, you don't.
If you put it on the tax bill, we would need to have a decision by the second meeting in November.
Okay, well, that's lots of time.
Meetings.
It's a month. So I say we have a motion on the floor, motion to support. Any other discussion on that?
Yeah, so what is this motion going to do?
It's going to instruct our city manager to seek the advice of an attorney that specializes in election law.
For what purpose?
To determine the parameter and rules of the PA 33 assessment.
Just the assessment?
Well, I think the whole aspect,
The whole
aspect.
TA 33 process, and certainly our future of, contingency of
I
what
think
happens either way.
there's sufficient question on how we're supposed to proceed at any of this, that I think some clarity would be,
What I'm trying to differentiate is you're trying to clarify how to proceed with collecting the money and what to do with it versus
the
that you're
whole,
gonna go
the
to a vote.
entire thing.
The motion was to hire the lawyer to understand PA 33, period, that's all aspects of it, and we questioned everything about it.
We're gonna
We
put
don't know where we're going with anything.
Are we
and
going to put a cost limit on that? Because that's going to cost us.
I believe city manager's already talked to a lawyer, and you got a ballpark of about $500. So I think that's money well spent, especially if we got ourselves into a situation where we'd have to give the money back after we collected it. Commissioner Avery?
That's pretty cheap knowledge, considering that we didn't care at all what the election cost would be. So I think this is a good thing.
The school district will be
Well
paying for
said.
that half of it
Well
anyway.
said.
Still $7,000.
Yeah, I don't think, from what I've heard here in these discussions, that anybody's trying to say the petitions aren't valid.
No.
I think that we're all fine with letting us go to a vote. But I have a million questions that I feel I haven't had answered in regards to this whole process. And I would really like to see some other, get somebody that maybe has some familiarity with this, a little more familiarity. I know this is untested ground for everybody here, including you probably, Mr. Downey, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, so. Any other discussion on this? Got a roll call, please?
Commissioner Avery,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Lovett,
Yes.
Commissioner Melly,
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson,
Yes.
Mayor Skatarczyk.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Does anyone want to make a motion on the PA 33 assessment before we move on to the next item? Commissioner Hendrick?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we follow the city manager's advice and rescind it.
Support. All right, we have motion and support. Do you have any discussion? All in favor of rescinding the PA 33 decision, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The motion did not carry. Moving on to item 10A, which is appoint interim police chief.
I make a motion to appoint Lieutenant Jim Heaslip as acting interim police chief.
Support.
We have motion and support. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Hendrick?
Do we have any idea what we're going to do for the future?
Not at this point.
Will we be discussing that anytime soon?
We will.
Next meeting or so? Because I know you'll have to eventually.
Probably.
Okay.
There's no time limit on how long?
There is no
He could-
time limit.
so-
He could serve for years as the interim.
Would he want to do that?
It's not recommended.
The union wouldn't have a problem with that?
It's not recommended.
So, while our city manager is taking her time to make up her mind on what her recommendation is going to be, we're saving money. So I say, take your time. And think out all the angles, and when you're ready, let us know. That's my advice. Anything else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So we have our Lieutenant Heslip is now our acting police chief. And on to item 10B, which is tall ship dockage, actually creating a harbor off our seawall. I think you've gotten most of the information on this, right?
Yeah, there's an interested citizen in the community that would like to install a dock system off our seawall for tall ships to dock at intermittently throughout the year. This isn't something that would be used on a long-term basis or constant basis. They are seeking permission to install some bollards on our seawall and some mooring dolphins off the shore of the seawall. There isn't really any major upkeep from our standpoint. We would pretty much need to just, in the spring, probably put in the dock system. In the fall, remove the dock system. There's very minimal upkeep. And that's pretty much all the information that I have. He did provide a poster that shows some of the pictures of what the bollards and what the tall ship would look like and the location, which is right behind the Guy Center.
What is he essentially asking from the city?
He's just asking for permission to install the system.
And what will be the cost to the city?
There would be no direct cost for us. It would just be some minimal upkeep throughout the use.
So,
you want a motion?
sure,
I
that'd
make
be
a
good.
motion to accept the proposal to install the dock system for ships to dock in Marine City.
The motion support. Any discussion? Commissioner Hendrick?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this, but I have several issues, though. I'm sure he's going to need DEQ and DNR approval for this. And how is he going to put in the requests? Is he requesting on behalf of the city? Are we on this? Are we obliged to fill these out? What this does to our insurance in the event there's any issues? There's a lot of little things.
I've not seen an application. What he's looking for at this point is support for the project as a whole. Those are issues that we would have to work out should this project move forward. Obviously, I don't think he would be doing anything until he did procure those permits. They are off our seawall. I would imagine at the very least, DEQ, Army Corps of Engineers, would expect us to sign off on the project.
Commissioner Avery?
I also sense that there probably will be a cost to the city eventually for insurance coverage. It's something there, and of course there's slight damage. I don't imagine it's tremendous, but we should be aware that it is not free.
Your Honor, if I could interject too, going through something similar with another community I represent where the city may be on the hook for some engineering expense on this as well. Even if there is a plan being put in place by a private actor, I think that the city engineer will probably need to scrub that plan to ensure that the seawall is going to be properly maintained with this development. These dolphins, as I understand, are sort of position off the wall to allow a platform, and how that might impact recreational boating or swimming, things of that nature. So I think there will be a cost that the city is going to have to bear to ensure that the use of this system is consistent with what the commission wishes to have happen.
And the city engineer would probably end up being Tetra Tech. Is that who we'd have to?
I think Mr. Kingsley is the city engineer.
He's a contract employee.
Yes, he is, Your Honor.
Commissioner Avery?
I think, since we're probably not voting on anything here, is just to express our interest in doing this, but with the reservation that we need to see the costs involved and a real plan before the commission actually does vote.
I'm not sure that's what this individual's looking for at this point, is he? I mean, I believe he believes he has a plan.
Well,
It's not complete, though, to us.
we can certainly go back to him, ask for more information, and then get some preliminary numbers for what insurance costs might be.
So why don't we just postpone this?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to postpone this until the city manager can obtain additional information.
Support.
We have motion support. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has been postponed. So I guess we'll put together a little better idea of what our costs will be, even if they are minimal. But it's awful nice of this person to do this, I'd just like to say that publicly. And we are a marine city, and we can't park a big boat out in front, so it'd be nice to be able to do that. Moving on to item 10C, which is East China School District Agreement.
He's the only guy who owns a big boat.
Would you like to explain this one?
Sure. This is an agreement between the city and the school district to be able to use the facility for our recreation programs, primarily swimming and also using the gymnasium. I did have Jim Downey take a look at the contract. He said that it's typical to what all the other communities have signed. There is a minimal cost involved in this. We do have a lease agreement with the school district that will be expiring next year that we'll need to review. There are programs already in place at the school district going on, so that's something to consider whether or not you choose to approve this.
This is, I believe, the same agreement we've had to sign every year, supposedly. I don't know that I've ever seen it before, but I think Lynn has just been signing it, probably inappropriately or inappropriately.
I make a motion that we approve entering into the operating agreement for 1 year for the use of school facilities as described.
Support.
The motion support. Any discussion, Commissioner Simpson?
Just one point, it's a very little point, but being that it is an official agreement and whatnot, item 12 on page 2, any concerns about said individuals to be addressed to the Assistant Superintendent for Personnel and Operations. My suspect is that that's just, there's no one in that position anymore. That when Keith Knuth retired as Executive Director of Human Resources, being that it is an official agreement, just a little detail, but I'm working for the school. I know that this is an adaptation of my agreement that I used at the Performing Arts Center that I wrote years back. So much of that, doesn't change. It's probably just the one thing that gets updated. But seeing that there's no one in that position, I just want to make sure that that's clarified. So I believe Mr. Ming and Lynn are the ones who do probably the body of that work, but just knowing that that position has not existed for over a year now. Somebody, it's a new position.
Commissioner Levitt?
I just would like to note for the record that when that year agreement is up and we are looking to renew that we do enter into some discussion about the dollar lease on the amount of property that the school district leases from Marine City versus us paying this amount of money for using their facilities.
Commissioner Hendrick?
I don't think that's up till 2025 or something, that contract.
What I saw was 2016.
The one on the property? I thought there was one till 2025. Maybe I'm wrong.
Anything else? This is a spending issue, so roll call vote.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Lovett.
Yes.
Commissioner Melly.
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson.
Yes.
Commissioner Turner. Oh, Commissioner Turner's not here. Mayor Skatardi.
Yes.
And Commissioner Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to item 10D, which is a wage classification table amendment. You put it together, so you explain it, right?
Sure. With the resignation of the deputy treasurer, we have an opportunity to do some changes in positions in the city offices to help cut costs. One of the things that we're looking to do is to downgrade the position to an accounting clerk This won't require some of the training that a deputy treasurer position does. That should save us some money. We also are looking to combine two part-time positions into one part-time position and going to 410s. Thereby we can have one person cover lunches from approximately 10 to 3 o'clock, and we'll be able to keep our office open until 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday. There were also some grammatical errors and inconsistencies to be corrected on the table as well. I did outline in the packet the changes that are proposed and provided the current table.
Speaking of that, there was a little grammatical error in your sentence when you talked about fixing the grammatical errors. Or are you really talking about wages?
I just wanted to see if you were paying attention.
So, does anyone want to put a motion together?
I'd move to approve the amendments to the wage classification table as presented.
Support.
The motion support. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Mr. Melly?
Yeah. One thing I do have a hard time with about having a 4-10, 4-day, 10-hour shift. You know, when you have to work overtime, in case of, you know, you getting a job out, it's necessary. You're going to be at full speed ahead. But if you're at full speed ahead continually for a whole year, you're going to be run down, and your cost factor of efficiency will be down, whereas you're complaining that you don't have enough time in 8 hours. I see that dwindling more within 10 hours, because the human body, you only can work full speed ahead for, you know, a period of time, then you're going to get burnt out, and then you're going to not care. I strongly oppose the 4-day, 10-hour shift. I believe the employees would be more efficient on 8 hours, and it's also another day where the city offices would be open. And I haven't heard anybody complaining that you guys aren't open late enough. I've never heard any complaint. Oh, you have?
It's a complaint for me. I don't get off of work till at least 5.
Oh, put it in the mailbox beforehand.
If I can't escape for lunch, it's hard to get there.
Well, but I'm just saying that the efficiency of a worker, that's great for a short period of time, but as years will go on, a 4-day shift, I've seen people that it's nice to have a long weekend, but their efficiency goes down. And I'm just thinking about where you want to save in costs versus a factor of your productivity with the employees. And I don't think that Guy Center is an inefficient building, whereas if it was open another day, it's not going to cost us that much more. You know, you're going to have the heating in the wintertime, another day a little higher, but in the evening, you cut it down to 66 or whatever. I don't see any cost factor of saving as far as utility bills, okay? But I do see a factor that it might work out great for a month or two, but after 2 months working a 10-hour shift, it's going to get wearisome. That's my opinion. Thank you.
And I'd just like to point out that the city manager is in charge of the day-to-day, so it's kind of pretty much her call, but I'm sure she appreciates
Well, I
your
thought
call
you
there.
meant this would be voted on tonight.
I don't believe, are you trying to get us to approve that 4-day
I'm sorry, I
work week too?
misunderstood it then.
That's a component of it, as
So-
part
so
of the
you're
wage
looking for that to be in-
classification.
Yeah, what's being requested and presented was the changes to the table, not approving staffing changes. So certainly my motion did not include those. But mostly because city manager dictates day-to-day operations. And I would think that changes in numbers are different than changing an operational procedure.
You're more than welcome to ask us if we approve of it or not, I guess, if that's what you want to do.
I misunderstood, I'm sorry.
But we have
Certainly if it was something that displease the board, I would consider keeping a 5-day work week.
Commissioner Hendrick?
If you went to that, would you still be closed the first hour and last hour?
No.
So you're not going to do that any longer?
We're looking to go from 7:30, opening at 8:30, and then staying open until 6.
Okay, so, and that's Monday through Thursday, right?
Correct.
Okay, so what about, so when are the packets going to be done? When they used to be kind of done Friday or Monday or whatever? When are you going to do those then? Is that switched to Thursday?
We've already moved the agenda meeting up to Thursday to try to answer Commissioner Melly's request to get the packets out sooner.
Oh, that's good because they used to be. How about, I guess when we have holidays and stuff, I guess here's my concerns with it. When we have people that have funeral issues or somebody that needs to get their water turned back on, and then if we have a holiday on a Monday, then that's a 4-day weekend. Those are the type of issues I'm kind of looking at to make sure that people aren't, you know, some people maybe can't come until a Friday or whatever. What about the other three I had here? Like the building inspector and the assessor and code enforcement, are those all gonna, is that okay with the assessor to work that same schedule? Or
The assessor is contracted and works on Wednesdays, and she's part-time.
The other two were working Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at least the building
They're willing to
inspector.
shift their schedules.
So what will the building inspector be then? Yeah, but
No, we haven't set hours, and the thing is I was waiting to make sure that this went through, and one of the reasons why I proposed not doing it until January was so we'd have an opportunity to get notice out to the public and work out those issues such as the holiday time and the employee staffing.
well, I'd make a suggestion that maybe you could put out a survey. You can use Facebook, they have a survey thing in there. Maybe that'd be something that could go out.
I don't really support Facebook for surveys.
Well, I mean, it works for a lot of people in town, just so that you can get some feedback on what, if people like the idea or dislike the idea, or, because, I mean, it's up to the people that, they're the ones that we're here to serve.
I might make a suggestion, we have a motion on the table, and why don't we complete that?
Okay.
And this would, the way I'm looking at it is two separate issues, because we should separate them anyway, so.
Okay.
Why don't we complete the motion that's on the floor, and then rejoin this discussion.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion on the new wage schedule as presented?
I was going to call the question.
Okay, so seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So the new wage schedule has been approved. Now, what do we want to do about the request on the change of office hours? Commissioner Simpson?
I just had a question. I mean, even rereading the letter just now again, this is a question I know many of us will get. What are the original intention of changing the hours? Is it, I mean, it's a benefit to some of the employees to have the 3-day weekend, but what is the rationale for changing the hours? Why make that change? It's going to be a common question, I'm sure. It's not indicated in your letter, and I haven't heard it tonight.
The main reason is to expand the hours so we can serve a greater number of residents. A lot of people probably live within half an hour to hour time away from the city, and that gives people an opportunity to do work, the standard work day, which the majority of people do 8 to 5, an opportunity within that hour, half an hour drive to get to the city and be able to serve a greater number of residents. Currently, Fridays are our lightest days. We don't have a lot of business in the office on Fridays, and that's why I'm proposing that. There are a lot of other issues that this would help address. One of the things about the 410s and productivity, a lot of us actually, because of all the late meetings, are already working a lot of 10-hour days, if not more so. This also is an opportunity for us to reduce some of the comp time that we have, because a lot of the meetings would be enveloped into the workday. We have meetings at 4 o'clock and And those would just be during the regular business hours. With the coverage of the people in the office and the way that we'll restructure the positions, we'll have coverage in the office to make sure that we always have 2 people in the office.
The DPW's schedule is not affected by this, correct?
The DPW is not affected by this, and fortunately, one of the things that we can take benefit of is that with them still working a 5-hour day, that they'll be able to take the calls and service for water and cemetery.
Then to address Commissioner Hendrick's concern about the water shutoffs, would you be willing to put a moratorium on shutoffs on a Friday? Since they wouldn't have any ability to come in and pay their bill?
No, we would definitely move that to Mondays or Tuesdays. Mondays.
To Mondays.
Yep.
Commissioner Hendrick?
Well, I was looking more for turn-ons, not shut-offs. When somebody wants to finally pay their bill.
It usually
if they
happens
rush
on the
in
same day.
Yeah, but I mean, if
We'll
they-
have DPW coverage for that.
So another thought could be, what if you had some people work Monday through Friday and some work Tuesday, or Monday through Thursday and some work Tuesday through Friday?
We don't really have the staffing for that. I understand that's how DPW used to be, and when they were on 4-day-a-week cycles, that they were able to have that overlap, but we just don't have the staffing for that.
Yeah, I've got some concerns. I did some research on it, and they said a lot of cities, some cities went to it, and then they went back to the standard time, because people did get, what Mr. Melly referred to, they started getting burned out from working the long hours that many days, because when it's nice out, then you don't really want to be there. But I mean, some places did it, were successful, other places, they reversed back to the 5-day week. I guess that's, I wouldn't be in favor of it.
Yeah, you spoke to how DPW would handle some of the turn back on. I know recently we sort of took that away from DPW about accepting checks and those types of things. Have you guys worked that out in detail? Because I know very recently they said when they're not going to be taking any cash at the door or anything. So we'd be going back to that in this circumstance? And you guys have a procedure?
That's something that Mary Ellen would work on, a procedure.
Okay.
Currently, Elizabeth does work between the clerk's department and DPW, so she already takes in cash. There wouldn't really be anything that I think that would change there.
So it'd be at the office as opposed to a DPW worker. I know what Mr. Richards had indicated is one of their issues were the safety issue for the gentleman there, receiving the money and those types of things too. So just because it had been an issue and it's been a recent change, I just wanted to bring that up for discussion.
Yeah, oftentimes right now, we do get in a situation where we have one person in the office, and that's always a concern.
And they can pay online.
Okay.
That's a good option, pay online.
But late water bills, they can't.
Commissioner Levitt?
I've just been made aware recently because of this change with us that there are many city and county offices that are on the 4-day schedule now. But, I would like to remind us that that is the city manager's prerogative to set that, and that I would hate to see us get into a point where just because she wants to be accommodating, that we begin to micromanage our city manager. So I put that out there. I think it's wonderful. I thank her for thinking of the people and not just, that people can get there now, maybe even just have to take an hour off of work instead of half a day off of work, that they have the opportunity to go to the office, that's cut down on staff, that combining of 2 half people to 1, there's a savings there, and there certainly is a savings, especially in the wintertime, with electricity and heating, et cetera. And at this point, every little savings that we can get is much appreciated. So I thank her for thinking so proactively, and it's very nice of her to ask our opinion, but I certainly at this point do not think we should try to micromanage that office.
Yeah, she asked us to.
Understand.
Yeah.
No
And my stance is I'm pretty neutral on it. I mean, I can see problems with this and some benefits, so I'm going to defer to the city manager, and if this is what she wants to do, I'm going to be.
Maybe the thing is to try it out, see how it works.
Yep. Commissioner Avery?
Exactly what I was going to say. We should hold off casting the bronze plaque with the hours and just try it first.
Commissioner Miller?
Would you consider a 90-day trial period? 3 months?
It might take a little bit longer than 3 months to really figure out if it's working. You know, if we're starting this right in January, I would think probably 6 months would be a good measure to see if it's working or not.
6 months.
Well, somebody want to put a motion together?
I don't know that we can make
Yeah.
direct motions in regards to day-to-day operations. Mr.
Yeah.
Downey, do you have an opinion?
Well, I think that there's a provision in the charter where the manager can seek the advice and consent of the commission on certain decisions, and it may just be perhaps if Ms. Levin wants to, formalize that this is going to take effect January 1, and maybe propose doing it as a trial program through the end of June of 2016, it could come back before the commission on a vote, and pursuant to, again, I think it's section 3.9H maybe of the charter. Don't hold me to that, but I can correspond with Ms. Levin and have that shaped up for the commission's review at the next meeting.
I don't think we need that review. I'm comfortable with that.
Well, I just want to make sure that everything, I know you have a lot of detail to work out, so those are the things that I'm concerned with, and then, yeah, if you want to do a trial.
So you're comfortable with just a consensus?
Yeah.
So okay, I say
You want
go for it.
motion of consent?
I
I make a
guess.
motion that we consent to the city manager's
There'll be more time.
desires to go to a four-day
For a 6-month
10-hour
trial.
week.
Going to do it a 6-month trial?
Nope.
I'll support.
So motion, support, discussion?
Okay, I just want to say that if you
What
work...
is the motion, what is on the agenda here? I thought we passed the one on the wage classification, but now
We voted in favor of that.
another motion?
It was-
Where is that?
It's we split this, there's two parts to this 10D.
Yeah, it was all buried in the wage thing, Bill. It was all buried in the wage thing, Bill. It said the wages and also the time, so we're trying to split it out because it was all in one
I thought you were
document.
talking about something about a 30-day work week or something.
Yeah, we are.
It's part of that
It was all included in the same document.
Where, I didn't see that information in the packet.
It is in the packet.
Oh, yeah, it's in there. It's
10B,
the second
it's
half
the-
of the wage.
Yeah, the first paragraph.
Not in his.
Well, I was wondering, I thought there was some information on the fact that it would affect the personnel policies and so on. Because I think in some cases they talk about days, now you're talking maybe about hours. For instance, what is a vacation day now? Is it going to be 10 hours? In other words, if I had 5 days of vacation, now before it was 8-hour days, right? So that would be 40 hours of vacation.
That's a very legitimate concern.
10-hour days, and I work 4 days a week,
It's the
so that's,
And no one's going to work
Still
2
40
hours to get a
I
day.
spoke with Mary Ellen about this.
and I'm just one I didn't see outside.
That's okay.
I thought I went through the material, and I thought you had made a recommendation that it would require changes to personnel policy. How do you integrate hours with days? That would be my concern, is,
Thank you.
what is a work day? And then if I have a vacation day, is it a 10-hour day? If I have 1 day now, do I get?
Or if it's a vacation week, is it just 4 days?
Yes, it's
So
true.
I spoke with Mary Ellen. This isn't something uncommon to other communities. They've all gone through it. It will be based on the equivalent. So what people are getting now isn't going to be any different than what they're going to get with this in effect.
So it's a 40-hour work
40
week,
hours is 40 hours.
Basically.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know, Mr. Downey, do you have an opinion on that?
Well, again, my suggestion, going back to what I said previously, is that, perhaps this could be articulated more specifically and just more as a courtesy to the commission, advice and consent sought.
Right. Ann, I think you should probably take a look at the procedures and policy manual, because maybe you do have to modify some of the wording in there. So I would make a motion to table this motion. Commissioner Avery?
I just wanted to state that the federal government has provisions for 9-hour days and 10-hour days, and what Bill brought up is correct. A day is a day, and you can look at that as a inflation then perhaps of some, because it works that way with a holiday. If a holiday falls on your day of work, then it's a 10-hour holiday rather than an 8-hour. But that's been accepted. There's a lot of areas that have gone to the 10-hour schedule for efficiency. I haven't noticed a lot of burned out, worn workers. In fact,
Did
a
that
lot of them
motion
thought
have
10 hours
support?
was pretty good. It was better than our normal 12.
You sticking with your motion?
I'm still with my motion to table this.
I'll support that motion.
So we have motion to support the table, the original motion. Any discussion on that?
Well, just one other thing, that being a 4-day, we have the first Thursday and the third Thursday. So would you be cutting your hour, a half hour earlier?
What we're voting on right now is to actually postpone any decision on this.
Oh,
so
okay.
that
All right.
They have time to formulate this a little differently, and do a little more research, so. Yeah, we're basically just gonna do nothing.
Point of order, a motion to table is a direct vote because it stops conversation.
Right, there you go. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Said to do that, didn't you?
Overruled.
All right, so you've got no support so far from us. Moving on to item 11A, which is financial business. We got disbursements including payroll.
Make a motion to approve disbursements, including payroll of $248,119.00.
Support.
We have motion to support. Any questions? Mr. Hendrick?
Yep, on page 17 of 31.
Yeah.
I see a lot of bills from March, February, April, May for Tetra Tech there. And the total comes to 100 and some thousand. I mean, why are all those so late? Why are we paying them in October?
You talking about the credits?
Well, you got a credit, but then we have other ones. She's got post dates of 2/3, and we're paying it now. A lot of this stuff. I'm just curious of what all this is.
If I compare on to that, my question was, what were the bill and error issues? That's a lot of money for bills and errors. I know Mr. Itris was working on that, but we have a credit for $3,510. That's a lot of errors.
What that was something contractually that Tetra Tech was charging for overtime and call-outs, and Mike Ittrich, in reviewing the bills, found those, and they've since issued us a credit.
Okay, what about all the other ones? Just curious of why, with the post dates versus, you know.
Maybe it had something to do with him contesting those charges?
Yeah, it's laundry, fluoride, laundry.
Yeah, I think that's what he was contesting with some of the quantities and.
I know Mr. Itris was in front of us at least 2 months ago saying that he was going to really sit down and go through with a fine-tooth comb, so it's something we were certainly aware of.
I guess, could you find out why that's all the additional stuff?
Yep.
Anyone else? I couldn't read the pages on the online edition because there was a hole poked through the scanned one, so I'm not sure what page this was on,
If
but.
you look at the new one, you can read it.
Yeah, well, I know, but I don't remember, I looked at it online, so there was $1,200 spent on, I think it said winter clothing. I just thought that sounded a little high for 3.
Work uniforms?
Yeah, it's work.
1250.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second page on there, I think, looks like.
I mean, what, are we just buying jackets, overalls? I mean, it seems like we get these on a regular basis.
I talked to Mike about that, and he said it was DPW uniforms.
And that's contractual, is it not?
Yeah.
Where they're allowed so many
Nope.
replace clothes every year under contract?
correct.
Is that what it is?
Boots and
Yeah, coveralls and winter gear.
All right, that's all I had. Anybody else? Do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Lovett?
Yes.
Commissioner Nolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Mayor Stajcic?
Yes.
Commissioner Avery?
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick?
No.
Motion carries.
Moving on to item 11B, which is preliminary financial statements.
I move to approve the preliminary financial statements as submitted.
Support?
Motion and support. Any questions or discussion on the financial statements? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Accepted file. City managers report.
I attempted to attend the planning commission meeting this week, however, there was not a quorum, so everything that was said on that agenda will be moved to the next month's meeting. I, along with Mary Ellen, viewed a webinar for the state funding, formerly known as EVIP, now the CVTRS. I did participate in a meeting with the sheriff and undersheriff regarding their services. Have not received or solicited actual bid from them to this point. I worked with several resident complaints, trying to resolve those. I also wanted to let people know that DTE is going to have a couple mailings going out, one regarding some tree trimming that's going to be going on, and another one regarding smart meters. And those both should be received within about a month from DTE. That's it.
Commissioner Simpson?
Just have a brief question. Did the Vertons get the information they were looking for from the assessor today? Yes or no?
Not to my knowledge.
Are we going to do anything to try to facilitate that?
I thought I had heard from Kathy that now they're not going to get it to them until next week. We may need to hold a special meeting for Tifa for a resolution.
Anyone else? All right, on to commissioner privilege. Commissioner Simpson, why don't you start us off?
I got nothing tonight, thank you.
Commissioner Avery.
We've run long enough. I've had my say tonight. Thank you.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes, I'd like to extend my condolences to Terry Fido and her family for the loss of Tom. He was really a great guy here in this town. He did a lot of work at the Lions Club. He was a veteran. Just can't say enough about him. He's in my neighborhood. He was a wonderful, wonderful guy, and it's really a sad loss for them, so my condolences to them. I want to make sure everybody has a safe and happy Halloween coming up. Make sure everybody has reflectors and flashlights, and keep the kids safe and watch your speed. And then the last thing is the Old Newsboys has started up for this year. It meets every Tuesday, 7 p.m. at the fire hall, and this is to help all the kids to make sure they all have a good Christmas. So if anybody wants to volunteer, please come. You just show up, and it's a good organization. Thank you.
Commissioner Lovett.
Yes, first of all, thank you to the Burtons for working so hard and getting everything together to put up this boutique hotel and the other things they have done for this community. Just walking through town, it's just lovely. There is so much going on in terms of fixing things up. A number of houses have been putting on fresh paint. kind of dark colors with white trims that go very nice with the historical setting. And I see some have gotten grants from Paint the Town, from the Historical Society. And the flower gardens are absolutely awesome. I was thinking they'd be dying out by now, but hydrangeas, especially, I don't know what kind they are, but they're blue with little white trims on the edges, and they're just in bloom. The one garden down toward the middle of Marine City is just outstanding. So thank you to the Garden Club for keeping everything looking so well. And just a big shout out to all of our city employees, but especially to the DPW, who are working so hard to keep everything cleaned up and straightened up and fixed up with the the equipment that they have and the lower staff that they have. And ditto, everybody have a great Halloween and be safe.
Commissioner O'Malley.
A couple things. First of all, I'd like to give my condolences to Terry Philo. Tom was very ambitious and very caring to the community with the Lions Club. The Lions Club is going to deeply miss him. He was a wonderful guy, and when you start seeing your health deteriorate, it's very sad when you realize how many days you got left to live. And I'm just sorry he wasn't able to make Christmas, but my condolences do go to Terry, and the town is going to deeply miss Tom because he was highly favored amongst the townspeople. The other thing I wanted to say is individual came up to me, and the person is very cautious of her animal for doing any kind of droppings of one thing or another, and for some odd reason somebody wanted to do their own police work, and they felt as though that her dog was making the droppings at their place or one thing or another, but evidently they got mixed up because I know the party, and the party is very cautious of picking up any of the dog droppings. If you want to do your own police work, or if you accuse somebody of their dog making a mess in your yard or something, why don't you at least come up to the person's house and knock on the door, and you might be a little bit surprised and find out you accused the wrong person. And I just feel like, you know what, it's sad that some dog owners do not take the responsibility of their pet, but please, if you want to make an accusation with somebody, knock on their door. Don't do your own dirty work and try to take advantage of somebody, because you just hurt another individual and they had nothing to do with it. And also, I do want to say, having a safe Halloween for the kids. I want you guys to enjoy yourselves. Marine City is a very well Halloween town, but as you recall, last year we did change the date, but it actually was to our benefit because Halloween was the most terrible night, where the next day it was fantastic. So I had so many compliments and saying, how did you guys foretell the future? And it was kind of a surprise. I felt like it had nothing to do with it, but God was on our side. But other than that, have a safe holiday and enjoy the fall colors that are coming in, and just enjoy the area. Thank you.
Yeah, echo those sentiments on Halloween. Be careful, it gets dark early, so make sure those kids are, doing it safe. And in that same vein, I think I brought this up every year. I leave for work early in the morning. This time of year it's pitch black. And there's people that ride their bikes on the street and they don't have any type of reflectors, reflective coating. And Tuesday morning at, I think it was 3:30, I thought it was something in my eye. It just looked like a shadow or a ghost. And I had to keep concentrating on it. When I got almost on top of it, it was somebody on a bike in camo gear, just completely blacked out. This looked like a shadow. And that is so unsafe. If you're gonna ride your bike to work or school, wherever you're going, have some reflectors on your bike and wear these high visibility vests or something. It would ruin your life and mine if I hit you. And honest to God, I couldn't see it till I was almost on top of you. So wherever you are, don't do that anymore. And if you know who that person is, talk to them. This is dangerous. And I'd like to thank the Burtons for all the value they've added to their town and the excitement level. Their two facilities for live theater are just great. And what they're going through to add this hotel to our town is excruciating. It's a huge investment, and to make it profitable, they have to look for all these grants and fundings, and it's a huge ordeal. And anything that we can do to help or facilitate, I really think we should, because to have a $3 million boutique hotel in our town is going to be such a major asset that hopefully we'll be doing everything we can for them. And last but not least, there's been a woman weeding in Drake Park all week. I haven't seen it, but my wife's reported this to me. She's been working by herself very hard. She doesn't know who she is. She's never seen her before. So wherever you are, thank you so much for beautifying that park. And with that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.